If there's one thing I have always been driven to do my entire life, it's to make people feel better. That's why I'm a minister. That's why I have chosen this very specific and unique job. I just want people to feel better. Not happy all the time, not entertained, not distracted. I mean genuinely, deeply better. More at home in themselves, less afraid. And now, after 12 years of professional ministry and counting, I'm utterly convinced that almost everything good begins right there. Most people hear feeling better and assume it's a self-serving goal, as though caring about our own peace somehow comes at the expense of everyone else's. I don't buy that. No. I think people who genuinely feel better, people whose water table of stress is lower and their joy point is higher, make life better for everyone around them. Did you know people who feel better are harder to manipulate by others? Harder to frighten? Harder to convince that other human beings are the source of all their problems? When we feel even just a little bit better, more at ease, we become more curious than certain, more generous than defensive, more compassionate than suspicious. When people are deeply at peace, they stop needing the world to hurt with them. The irony is that every human being is already trying to feel better. Every time we buy something or fight with someone or join a political movement, when we become addicted to things, or when we take revenge on someone, or if we perform an act of kindness or generosity, all these are among the endless list of ways we are just trying to feel better. Everything we do is at some level an attempt to move from a state that feels worse to one we hope will feel better. The problem has never been our desire to feel better. The problem is how easily we are misled about where better actually lives. And like I said, when we are feeling badly, people can persuade us to believe all kinds of things. We are vulnerable to dark suggestion. When we are unhappy, and some politician tells us that immigrants are the reason we're unhappy, we believe them. Because we're hurting, and we want a reason, and they're giving us one. When we feel badly to the core, worried about what has happened to the state of the world, and someone tells us that transgender people are threatening our way of life, we believe them. Because we're afraid and looking for reasons. We're told that if we fear the right people, blame the right people, and defeat the right people, we will finally feel secure. The world will go back to being right again. Entire industries are dependent upon convincing us that peace is one purchase away. Entire political movements are dependent upon convincing us that peace is one enemy away. Neither delivers. Because it's not working against things that brings us peace. It's working for things. Which has led me to a question I now use as a kind of compass whenever someone offers me a philosophy, a product, a movement, or even a spiritual practice. I ask myself, if this actually worked exactly as promised, who would I become? Would I become more peaceful, more compassionate, more courageous, curious, generous? Would I need fewer enemies? Would I become more free? Or would I become more frightened, dependent, angry, more certain that my neighbors are the problem? That question has become the simplest way I know to distinguish wisdom from manipulation. Because real wisdom makes you more free. Manipulation makes you more dependent. Real wisdom gradually reduces fear while manipulation keeps manufacturing it. Real wisdom increases the output of your heart. This is why I spend so much time talking about forgiveness, curiosity, gratitude, compassion, wonder, and especially joy. Not because they should be seen as religious obligations, but because they are reliable ways of reducing suffering. And people who suffer less usually create less suffering. And that's why I am in ministry. That is why I chose this as my job, my vocation. Not because I have a theology that I want you to buy into. My own theology is the reason why I want people to just feel better. The way I personally believe in God and the way I personally wish to reflect the lives of our spiritual masters translates into ideas designed to just make you feel better, even if just a little bit. A little bit is enough. To suggest an idea that makes you feel a little bit more hopeful because of all the other self-help things that exist out there in the world and all the products and pills and supplements out there, the one thing that truly works is to find ways to feel better, to feel more at ease, to feel at peace in the middle of a storm of drama, and it just doesn't touch you the way it does others. And when I look at all of world scripture, everything I can get my hands on, everything I've been able to absorb since childhood, little tidbits of comforting advice that I would keep in the back of my mind just in case someone needed them someday, it's all pointing in the same direction. The suggestion being that if we are both giving and receiving of kindness, that is precisely when a greater peace begins. Not just a peace inside of us individually, but collectively. People who genuinely feel better become better parents and partners, more trustworthy neighbors, more responsible citizens. We become better caretakers of the world we inhabit. Not because someone commanded us to, or frightened us toward. Because peace naturally expresses itself that way. That's why even great wisdom traditions eventually point inward, not as an escape from the world, but as the place where the world begins to change. The purpose of feeling better isn't simply to feel better. It's to become the sort of person who no longer needs fear, hatred, or endless consumption in order to be okay. And if enough of us become those kinds of people, we will discover that inner peace was never a private achievement. It was the beginning of becoming who we were always meant to be.